Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a great time during the break and that you are ready to continue now. We will start two talks dedicated to applied AI in the industry. Our next speaker is Umar Akhtar. He is co-founder and chief marketing officer at Kudo. A talk on traps faced by marketers in using data for activation and decision-making currently, and why zero-party data, in particular, solves many of these problems. ZPD is fundamental in answering why people do what they do, and this gives AI an edge in being able to not only understand users better, but to know how to deliver a treatment that is more likely to resonate. This is, in briefly, what Umar will tell us. Umar, the stage is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much. It's great to meet you all. As Yelena introduced already, my name is Umar. I'm one of the co-founders and the CMO at Kudo. And I'm here to tell you why. I want you to try and dedicate this next 20 minutes to helping you to understand how we deliver understanding to our clients. I'll help you to walk you through the landscape of some of the challenges faced by people like me, humble, lowly marketeers trying to deliver results in all of the campaigns that we run, and hopefully show you how Kudo is trying to do something a little bit different in the market. So I'd like to start by asking a very quick question. Just by a show of hands, how many of you would say that you have answered all of the questions around your customers? How many of you are 100% sure you know your customers as well as you could possibly know them? Perfect. So you're in the right place. That's a good first sign. So given that nobody raised their hands, wouldn't one of these be absolutely amazing to have? We'd all love a crystal ball. We'd all love to be able to ask the questions that are most important to us, to be able to understand our customers, why they do what they do, how they think, what they're feeling and what drives their processes at any one time. But that's fiction. We're living in reality. So let's get back to reality, and I'll introduce Kudo. Very simply, as a company, we exist to empower our brands with a far deeper and more granular level of understanding of their customers than has been available on the market so far. And we want to do that in order to help them to engage with more meaning. Now, we are a team of data scientists, research scientists, marketeers, engineers, and we're all unified by this one goal, but we also have another thing in common. We all believe that while data is great, answers are better, right? We all have burning questions. And actually, most of the work that we do when it comes to data is designed to try and solve those key burning questions. Now, achieving this, it's not so straightforward. There's lots of challenges that are faced in our world, particularly for marketeers. For example, not all data is created equal. Sometimes there's tons of data on the market. Sometimes there's a little bit. The challenge for us is about knowing and having confidence in the data that we have. Because bad data sometimes is as good as having no data. So making sure that the data that we have is meaningful, that can give us what we need to drive performance is really important. Not only in terms of accuracy, but in terms of relevance, which is something that often marketeers seem to miss. The next thing is that data has to mean something. You have raw data, you want to mine it, you want to manipulate it and extract an insight from it. You want to tell a story. You want to learn something so that you can help to drive your actions and the decisions that you make. And in the same vein, any data that you're not applying is a little bit of a waste, right? We want to take our data, turn it into insights, and use it. Where you stop at understanding, you're wasting some of your effort and some of your time, and we don't want that redundancy in the process. Now, we're marketeers, we're getting better at using and manipulating data, but let's face it, we're not data scientists. And in terms of getting to the solution to this problem, we want the right answers to our questions. But doing that, getting that, is very time-consuming because it's complicated. Now, often there's a lack of data, and where there's a lack of data, we seem to fill in the blanks. We make assumptions, which is not much better than guesswork. Sometimes there's too much data, and when there's too much data, we don't know what to do with it. We find it hard to create meaning and to find uses of it. Thirdly, with GDPR and data regulation, consent is really important. And actually, where you have data and you don't have consent, that's unactionable. That doesn't help us. And finally, many of you will be aware that third-party cookies are about to be deprecated, and that's going to leave big blind spots in our ability to understand what people are doing outside of our own assets. And all of these things amount to one thing, which is inefficiency in our process. But that's where Kudo comes in. We've built a very simple three-step process. Step one, we help our clients to understand where their gaps in the data are, and we fill those gaps. We create data for our clients. The second step is once we have that data, we start refining it, extracting value from it, making sure we're telling you something you don't already know. And then the third part is about delivering action. Now, let's go into this in a little bit more detail just so you can get a feel for what we do. So in step one, where we're talking about creating data, we manage the entire research process in-house. We have our own research team. They not only work with our client to understand what their challenge is, but they translate that into a brief that helps to articulate what success will look like. And then we go about the process of designing instruments to collect those data points. We have a refined questionnaire, we then deploy it, and we start collecting this data. We want this database that's chocked full of the potential raw insights that will help to power our entire process. Now, this is a very complicated process, and as marketeers, it's something that we tend to shy away from. So streamlining this really makes it accessible for people like myself. The purpose here is to try and answer that question at the very beginning, which is why. The purpose of our surveys is to unlock why people do what they do. What's the motivation behind the decisions that they make? The data that we collect through our survey is zero-party data. Now, for anyone who's not familiar with it, zero-party data is a subset of first-party data. First-party data is probably where marketeers are most comfortable. We use it a lot. It tells you loads of information about your own customers, people who visit your websites, buying your products, reading your content. But one of the main challenges with first-party data is, what about the hundreds of thousands of customers you haven't met yet or haven't purchased from you? Arguably, that's even more important for you to know about. Our zero-party data is actively and voluntarily provided in our surveys through our respondents. It's completely PII-free. PII is personally identifiable information, so we're not asking for email addresses, phone numbers. So things like GDPR and data regulations are no longer a challenge. But despite that, consent is explicit throughout the whole process anyway, so we go above and beyond. And I guess one of the most powerful things about zero-party data is that it's very accurate and it's very rich in what drives our process and helps us to understand why. It's very accurate because, as I said, we design the questionnaires. And working with our clients, we help to answer their questions, and we write the questions in a way that helps to make sure we eliminate bias. We have research and statistical methods to try and eliminate that throughout the process. We also deploy the surveys ourselves, so we make sure it's targeted to the right audiences, so we're getting the right information from the right people. Now, all of this is great, but for me, the one thing that makes zero-party data so powerful is the fact that it goes beyond just the what and the how. Now, Simon Sinek published a book in 2009. It's called Start With Why. And he says that your why is the driving force behind the what and the how. All of the first-party data that you have, all the information about the way people use your website, the products that they're buying, the content they're reading, it becomes even more powerful when you know why they do it. Harnessing the why and applying it to AI can give us a lot of the solutions to our problem. Now, as I said at the early stages, as a marketeer, we're not data scientists, and we generally prefer to focus on action. Now, the next part of the presentation is about how we facilitate action. As the title says, how we bring our data to life. And we start by harnessing the power of why by using a segmentation. We use segmentations because marketeers love segmentations. We've been using segmentations for decades, so it's something we're comfortable with. Now, I'm not going to bore you by explaining the process of how we create our segmentations, but in this process, what we're doing is to cluster the people within our population to be able to create personas. And it's that process of transferring data into an organized form and to start telling a story. These personas that I show you on your right-hand side of the screen are AI generated. And we're harnessing the power of AI to start telling the story of what's important. What makes one segment distinct from another segment? What is it about a particular topic, product, or industry or category that's very important to them versus all of the other people? And it's that nuance around what drives a decision that helps you understand how best to position your product for each of these different segments. Now, like most data platforms, we have loads of dashboards, loads of charts, visuals, icons. And this is great. Loads of people are very used to using these. And it's best practice. It's good. Everyone loves a chart, right? But we want to create a world where you no longer have to take hours, if not days, to interrogate data. We've built Chat to Persona, which is the world's first AI-powered report that you can talk to. In this future, you no longer have to look at charts or interrogate dashboards. You can simply ask a question, and you can speak to the data as though it was a real person. You can find out what's most meaningful for you without having to organize the data in advance, without having to set up your dashboards. We're humans, we're people, and we communicate through conversation. And this is a far more natural way of interrogating the data. And that's a big part of what we're trying to do with Kudo, to be able to facilitate a more natural way of understanding data. Now, once you have that understanding and you've harnessed the value within your data, we want to start delivering results. So the actionability, which is inherent to what a marketeer does, becomes even more so important. We've built the world's first precision activation engine. With this, we've already started by producing a segmentation. So we have all of the insights that make each group distinct. We're taking a cross-set of that, plus the characteristics that are most statistically significant, but are also targetable, so that you can identify, you can isolate, and you can activate an audience by finding them online. Within our platform, we currently have integrations within the entire Meta ad suite. We have the Google ad suite, and very shortly we will have TikTok as well. We're completely channel agnostic, and as we continue to grow, we'll be adding more and more channels. But in short, within 3 or 4 clicks, you can take a segment and upload it directly into your Facebook Business Manager, into your Google Ads Manager, and you can start that process of targeting and activating towards them. We're bridging insight and converting it into action. Now, I started this presentation by showing you a crystal ball. And while I mentioned that this is an idea of a fiction, what we're doing at Kudo is making that more real. Actually, we're doing something even better. We're taking something that may seem like magic and showing you how it works. We're breaking it down for you so you can understand the process. We're helping you become more familiar with the process that will drive your best decisions. What we want to do is to use the power of why to help AI answer 3 things for you. And for each of our segments, we can give you, firstly, what the best combination of your products and services are for each individual segment. Secondly, how best to communicate your set of products and services to each one of your segments. And thirdly, how to isolate and target them online. Put very simply, we want you to know which of your segments are the highest value, we've built the platform to be able to interact with these AI personas using natural language in real life as though they were real people. And finally, we want to help you to be able to deliver action and drive performance through our precision activation uploads onto Google, Meta, and TikTok. Now, we've been doing this for the best part of 3 years, and we've had the opportunity to work with many of our clients to stress test the system and to see what the value is of what we're doing, of this new methodology. And I'm very happy to say that through our testing, we've seen that our process delivers between 300 and 600% improvement in conversion rates. That's 3x to 6x. And we've worked with a number of brands, some of which you guys will inevitably recognize. With Qdo, we're trying to empower marketeers with the power of why. Our AI systems are designed to help you with what means most to you. And it's the power of why that will make all of your other data more meaningful. Thank you very much. If anybody wants to add me, you can do so on LinkedIn. At this point, if there's any questions, I'd love to answer them.
Out of curiosity, you mentioned that people just fill in a form. How do you gather these people?
How do you
gather these people?
So we use panel aggregators to be able to identify the right target audience to be able to provide us with the data that we need most. So as part of in the very first part of the process, as I mentioned, we work with our client to identify what their challenge is. And in doing so, we'll define the target audience that we want to collect data on. We have, our research team, Dr. Mihailo Popescu is here as well, so he's available to talk to you and to help you to provide you with specific answers to that question. But he will work to make sure that we upload exactly the targeting criteria behind the respondents to the survey that are most appropriate for you. Now, we've helped our clients to find external audiences, people who are not purchasers, people who are purchasers, people who occupy the same space, but are maybe higher up the funnel. So in our onboarding and the brief design process, we'll work with you to define exactly what the audience looks like that we need to generate for you.
Very nice. Because I thought you started it basically with one data, but then you curate it for every business that is there. That's amazing.
That's the aim. And for each of our clients, we want to make sure that the data that we use is most relevant. And so, the point that I started with, which is that not all data is created equal. As marketeers, we have a tendency to go on Google. We love Google. And there's loads of data on Google, but data collected for someone else with a different question in mind may not be applicable and appropriate for us. So our starting point is always to start with the very best data possible.
Not structured, not the correct answers also.
Exactly.
It's also not structured, not the answers that you curated for them to answer.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Exactly. And you don't know who's answered the questionnaires or provided the data as well, which is another really important factor to it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.